Kevin, you
There it
are
is.
live.
We did
How
it.
you doing?
I'm
Yes.
doing good.
Are you alive?
I am. It's been a couple weeks since we've done this. We've had some technical difficulties from both of us. We both took our turns oversleeping, but we made it. Here we are. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah. What do we got
So,
talking about today?
what do we got talking about today? Let me check my my notes. Well, the importance of shifting beliefs and that the fact that you can choose. Like most people don't realize that they can choose, and this excuse of we've said it a couple times before, but it's like we're just reiterating our own experience of when we discovered that we can choose how to show up in every moment, every day, anytime, and not be stuck with this is the way I am. We don't have to be stuck with what happened in the past is affecting right now, what happened to our father with us, what with our mother with us, all the stuff that people carry on to the current. You in any moment you can choose to not be affected by that, not be let it run your life. And most of us don't even realize that we can choose how we show up in any second, in any moment.
Yeah, it's so funny because I remember growing up and like just really listening and hanging on. Nothing like I'm not blaming my mom in this in any way because my mom, but I can just remember my mom so many times saying, this is who you are. This is how you are. There was, some things were helpful, but a lot of it was very like, this is it. Like there's a wall. We've put cement around it. You can't move it. This is how you are. And
Yeah.
it was very interesting just to kind of grow up that way. And so there was almost like this. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a weird kid, but like I had this like real idea that I have to be this way because that's who I am, and I don't have
Mm-hmm.
a choice in it. And so it was really mind blowing for me the day I realized that I do have choice, and that
Right.
my attitudes, my behavior, my way I show up, my perspective. And so that was like a really huge part for me of figuring out, like, I mean, it was just like the world was black and white and we just flipped a switch on, like, oh my gosh, there's so much out here, like, like, whoa, like this is amazing. We got to go explore this. I wonder what, trees look like. I wonder what fish look like, all these different things. You're just like, you'd want to go explore if you'd never seen color. So it's that kind of that same feeling for me when I got that idea.
Yeah, and it's something important you said too, which is like a trap too. Like I recall some moments where our parents and our friends and people at work said, "Well, this is who you are," and then we agree to those things, and then we show up that way.
Right.
And I remember the moment when I did realize, have choice, and then my mother said, "Well, this is where our family is," and I was like, "No." This is the way our family or friends settled to be this way. I said, I refuse to believe that this is the way we are, not talking to each other like distance from each other. I was like, I'm choosing a different way. I'm going to choose to show up differently for my family so we can all be close. We can choose something different. And I remember that moment. And even if I said, even if I'm the only one taking a stand to choose closeness, love, and being togetherness. If I'm the only one, that I'll stand and be the only one. I believe that we can be close knit family again. And like it took me 2 years, but it was making my commitment to that choice, saying no. My family does not have to be this way. And I had literally went one family member at a time, having multiple conversations, building that trust, talking about the past and like clearing things up. And it really started to bring my families together, even though with the pandemic, especially last year, we just became even much more closer. Like we went from, contact each other like maybe once a month to like literally me and my one of my cousins, we talk almost every other day. That never used to happen. Texting every day. Like that was not like that 4 years ago. But
Mm,
because of my commitment of choosing something different, that eventually became my reality. The family that I envisioned started to happen because I chose something different.
right. Well, it's so funny because like this whole concept too of like being able to change out of who we are, quote unquote, is the story of like it's the plot for so many movies, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
have like kind of like the Luke Skywalker, the unsuspecting hero who just is like this boring farmer in this desert. He hates his life, wishes he knew more about his family, and then he kind of meets the Yoda or the Obi-Wan who kind of like helps him learn that he can be more, he can do something different. And then like he eventually shifts his identity and becomes a Jedi, right? And so there's this whole that's the plot line for so many movies throughout Hollywood. If you have this character who has this normal life, but then they find out something extraordinary about themselves, and they can actually change who they are, and they go on this journey to change themselves, and then at the end of the movie, they're a different person. And it's like
Right.
that's like an everyday occurrence, or it can be for us. We just don't realize it. Because we're in that like first scene where I'm just this, I just do this, I just grow tomatoes, or I just work at this desk job, or I just am this dad, or I just whatever you just. And so we get to change that story, we get to change that narrative. So much of it just by our thoughts and our mentality, and those then in turn change our choices and our actions, our behaviors to help us get somewhere different. And in
Right.
the midst of it, it's terrifying and there's self-doubt, but it's really helpful if you have your Mr. Miyagi, or you have your, you have your person that kind of can, encourages you and helps you to see that you can change and that you actually are different already. And so
Right.
it's like a really kind of cool place that we get to bring that into life every day. And that's what Jimmy and I get to do as coaches.
Right. Now, just thinking about that, like we get to do that for the people that we coach. It's like holding space for our clients is saying, being the Mr. Miyagi of the session, said, no, you can do something different. No, you can do something different. This is what you're creating, and holding that space for this person. And like even one of my current clients right now, all of a sudden like saying, you are good enough, like showing him and reflecting back to him all the steps that we've been through in the past, what is it, like almost 6 months, showing his progress. Even he's starting to change the way he dress, showing up confidently. He was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. I said,
Mm-hmm.
right, that's why I'm here. Like, and his whole demeanor is changing. And it's like, the Mr. Miyagi's of the world, um, even though when you don't believe, in yourself, that Mr. Miyagi is saying, well, this is who you really are. You're a Jedi. This is who you really are, a Jedi. Not even taking your crap, they're saying, no, this is who you really are. Now, and it's really hard sometimes for us, like, no, this is why I love setting intentions with my clients, and even with collaboration, is saying, no, this is our commitment. How are this is where we want to be in the world. This is how we're going to show up. This the same the track that we're on to being the $1 billion company. This is the standard. This is how we move and operate in the world, and how we're going to show up. What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? And how can I
Right.
start implementing those little things every day? Because it does take time. Like I said, my family, it took me 2 years, but it's staying committed. It is consistency is key. And even though you cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's one small step at a time to making change. Because change does not necessarily happen overnight. It is just one small step each and every way.
Right. Right. And it's so much like with the coaching, it's so much creating that vision for what this change can look like, what it will look like, what it'll feel like all that stuff you were saying, because really, like, it is hard to see, and it's hard to be motivated when you can't see where you're going or what the outcome is. And so a lot of times, like, as a coach, I really help paint that picture for my clients, to really help them flesh it out. Like, what would this give you if you were able to accomplish this? What would that be like? How would that feel? How would that affect your relationships? How would that
Right.
affect your bank account? How would that affect your health? All these different things that that changing can really help. But we're too scared a lot of times, right? And so helping them to see, oh yeah, that would be amazing. We're giving them this goal, and then they get to come up with the steps to reach that goal. They get to come up with the actions they're going to take, and I get to walk alongside with them, and we get to kind of even troubleshoot, like, hey, what might go wrong in this? Like, you have this great plan, what could get in the way? And they could come up with some things. Well, how might you get around that? And really have some ideas for them to be able to navigate, so that when they go out and try it and it doesn't work quite like they hoped, there's some there's some wiggle room, right? To be able to, oh, I'm going to try this. And I kind of talked with Kevin about that. And so they've got some ideas, and it's helping them not just not me just tell them what to do, but them actually kind of carve out this plan, try it, fail, tweak, adjust, and ultimately get down to the place where they succeed and become who they want to be or do what they want to do. And so it's a really beautiful thing to kind of walk through with somebody, and something I'm so honored to get to do.
Yeah. And I really love what you said too. It's like you will fail sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's a part of the process, because when something's on the line, especially in relationships and loves and marriage and switching careers, trying to make more money, there will be challenges. There will be risk. That's why you have a coach, and that's why they keep holding the mirror. It's like that, Luke Skywalker becoming that Jedi. He had so many challenges to go through to become who he was towards the end of the movie, but it was all for a purpose. Those challenges helped create who he was, and Yoda was there every step of the way. No, this is who you really are. You're a Jedi. Keep going. You're a Jedi. Keep going. No, this is your intention. This is what you want. Like, keep moving. You're almost there. You're almost saved. Like, this is the reason why we coach, and it's so fulfilling to see somebody who come from one space to another, and they're in their dream job. They're in their dream goal weight. They're making the money that they want. They double their income, because you hold space and you help them. Say, well, you don't have to submit to what you used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Putting these steps in place of like, oh, I can do this. I don't have to be a victim anymore to my circumstances or my boss. I can ask for it. Even when I am scared, still ask for it anyway.
Right.
That's the one thing, huge thing. Even when you're scared, because there are moments, especially getting that big promotion, doubling your income, trying to like put a company together. There are going to be moments where you're going to be fucking terrified. Do it anyway. Because it's all for a purpose of changing and stepping into that bigger version of you. You hear all the top coaches and mostly therapists say that. Do it anyway. Because it's helping you mold you into the person that you need to become, to change the person you need to become.
Right. And it feels so uncomfortable, right? And so as much, that was almost, for me, that was like the indicator, like, oh, I'm doing it right. Great. It feels terrible. Like, I'm going to keep going this way. And it's kind of like this weird, like, sadistic idea of like, the more uncomfortable it is, the bigger the response is going to be, the bigger the results are going to be. Right. And you think about, like, in the Star Wars movie, like at the beginning of episode 4, where Luke is like so whiny, he's like the whiniest, most annoying character. And, and then you see him like rescuing Han Solo at Jabba's palace. And in like, when he's like, finally, he's a Jedi Knight, and he's so confident and he's so calm and cool. And you're like, where did this transformation come in there? And you see him go from like little boy to like, he's a man now. He knows his purpose. He knows his direction. And so much of it is those challenges that he went through, that he learned to overcome and got practiced and tried some different things that he wasn't comfortable with. And so it's like having that as like, that's your training right there. When you look at that middle part of all those Hollywood movies, and you have those uncomfortable things where they get this vision at the beginning and then they like try it and it's too hard, they'll never do it, and then something happens and they are able to push through. They remember something from their past or something their dad told them or whatever, and they get to that point where they're able to make that, you know, that change and get to where they want to go. And so really, like, that's the thing, that there is work involved. You know, this isn't just like, oh, cool, I'll just change this and I'll make this easy decision. There's work. There's a lot of work.
There is work. And so many people are afraid, you know, how to do the work, or had a client goes, I have to do work. And it's like, yeah, you have to do work. Yeah. It's something you don't sit here and think about and just poof, it's like, you know, magically you have a computer, you're magically a millionaire, a billionaire, or this like superhero or whatever. There is work to get to those places. There is a lot of inner work and mindset. Everything starts with mindset. You know, Wayne Dyer has a book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. I mean, it's just, I always understood it, but when I started to read that book, I said, oh my God, like he literally everything starts with your thought process and how you think. Where you are right now is a part of your thought process. And it is work to unhinge, dig up that stuff and throw it out and learn something new. Because, you know, I had a coach used to say, your healing is on the other side of people. Like what you want is through people, because you have like everything around you is made with another person. Even this whole show is with another person, even this platform, to get it to where it was through people. You need, like, that's how you grow.
Right.
Through that, like real live interaction. So, you know, so Kevin, what's next for these people?
Well, you know, I'm thinking too, like, how do you recognize that that's where you're at? You know, what is the question that you ask yourself, or, you know, or start thinking about to help realize that, like, hey, I do have like these limiting beliefs, or I do have this idea that I can't change, or this is just who I am. You know, what's that indicator? What's that question that like kind of like can be your alarm or your trigger for, hey, maybe that's not true. You know, like realizing it. Hey, I just realized I stepped in gum. I didn't know it, you know, like, but you're walking around and you're just making a mess everywhere. You're not getting really where you want to go. So, yeah, I'm thinking like what that question might be. And my thought is that it's going to be, kind of what are these things that you've held so dearly and so truthfully for so long,
Right.
that they become part of who you are. And, you know, where can you kind of like, you know, kind of distance yourself from those thoughts. You know, for me, like one big one that I just always had growing up was that I was clumsy or I was awkward. My mom and dad told me that, and then yeah, I just kind of had that idea. Like they just, you know, when I played basketball, when I tried to work with my hands, like I did some jewelry making with my grandpa. You know, all these different things that took like some fine motor skills, and I'm like, I think really what it was is I was a kid. Like it wasn't that I was just an awkward person. It was like I was a person doing something new for the first time. And maybe it took me longer than some of my friends, but I eventually got there to the point where it wasn't an issue at all. But I had this mentality then that I carried with me for like so long in my life of I'm awkward physically, and not at all. But it was something that was so part of me. Oh yeah, and this is just who I am. I'm just awkward. Like my parents told me, you know. And it's like so many times we take that. So really, I guess questioning yourself and saying like, what are those things that I'm holding on to that maybe aren't true?
Right, and also like that's a really good indicator too. Like the questions you could like stopping yourself and saying like when you say, "Oh, I don't know any other way. This is the way I am. I don't know what to do." What do you, or the defense of what do you want me to do? I can't change. This is the way I am. Take a pause. It's like, is that really true? Like, why? And I always go, Is that really true? Why do I believe that? Where did that come from? Why do I even agree to that? Like, why am I agreeing to something? And am I willing to give it up and do something different? And is it serving me?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when there's a lot of resistance, because I've done that so many times myself. And especially if I used to have big resistance, but even if there's a little tiny resistance to letting that belief go, and I have to explore like where did it came from and at what point in my life I agreed to. And like what you were saying, clumsy. Like I used to believe that too. I was always dropping things on and I was like, well, why do I why do I believe that? Like all of a sudden I don't believe that anymore. I don't really drop things. I don't bump into things anymore. Just like I stopped believing that
Right.
that's just who I am. I stopped settling that. And so I really started to challenge these sort of off the cuff things I would say. And sometimes we say these things and we don't even realize that we're
Mm-hmm.
saying them, and we're just responding to, well, this is the way I am. It's just like for me, stopping, pausing, and questioning, and finding uh, and I would say to solve all this, like finding your Yoda in your life to help you with this.
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's so it's so interesting because our brains are so powerful. We tell ourselves, this is who I am, this is how I am. Well, our brains kind of like jump in and like, okay, great. This is how we have to behave. This is how we have to act and do things and think, because this is who we are. Because our brains are really powerful. And so, there's a
Right.
lot of neuroscience to back all these kind of concepts. But, so much of it is just is realizing that we're telling ourselves that, and it kind of becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy where, oh, I'm clumsy, and so like now I just drop stuff all the time. And like, what if you told yourself you're like, Rico Suave, and you're not, and you just start doing that, and the same thing with like losing weight. A lot of times people are like, oh, I just want to lose a little bit of weight, but they don't change their identity. And it's maybe
Right.
like, I am an athlete. I am, I'm going to be a dancer. You change like that identity in your mind and how you're thinking about it, and it can really help you kind of shift into the behaviors that follow that type of
Right.
person. But like what you said, Jimmy, I think is so true. Is finding your Yoda, and Jimmy and I both are coaches that can help you in these ways, and that's really what we're doing this about. We just want to do like a short little 20-minute thing each week, just to kind of talk about some of these things that get in there, because there's not a lot of us that get exposure to these kinds of thoughts or
Right.
conversations. And so that was really like our thought behind kind of doing this weekly.
Right, and it's important. And one of the benefits of having a coach is the coach is showing you, it's trained to teach you new ways. Oftentimes, our own limiting beliefs aren't attuned enough to see that there's another way. And you
Right.
have someone like Kevin to like, well, hey, what about this? What about that? What about that? Try this. Like showing you, educating you, and holding space for you so you can change, or even helping you become and mold you to become that person that you want to become that powerhouse or whatever it is in your love life, your relationships or whatever, to help you get that goal. That's what our job. Like your
Right.
goal is my goal.
Right.
Be
And I
that
feel
short
like,
bit.
yeah, and I feel like there's a level, I don't know, for whatever reason, this just popped into my head, but I feel like there's a level of a coach sounds like too fancy. It's like hiring a maid, or a housekeeper. You're like, like that's for like really fancy people. And it doesn't have to be that way. Coaching doesn't have to be, oh, I'm like trying to become like the next whatever. Like I want to be like a movie star, or I want to be like a giant business leader, or like I want to be like this really famous. Like you don't have to do that just to do coaching. Is like the most simple, like beautiful skill to work with anybody. And that's actually been something that's been really important to me, is helping, because coaching really started with CEOs back in the 80s. And that was like where it kind of came out of. And then, over time, we're doing more and more to get coaching to people who can't afford it, but everybody can benefit from coaching. I get coaching all the time. Jimmy gets coaching. I mean, this is something it's just a really great methodology. It's not just telling you what to do like a tennis coach. It's really bringing in a lot more than just telling you what to do. Like, you get to be the expert on yourself, and a coach just kind of gets to guide the conversation with you. And so it's something that, totally worth checking out if you're kind of on the fence. Even if you just have questions about coaching, please reach out to us, because we'd love to chat with you, or even work out a sample session with you.
Yeah. So we're wrapping up. Happy Friday. And if you have any questions, leave a comment or question below, or feel free to DM Kevin or myself, and we would love to hop on a call with you. All right. Well, happy Friday, folks.
See you later.